Hey guys, just using some time in quarantine to talk about a few important health and nutrition topics that you might be interested in. So, today I just want to talk about fasting as it pertains to women. So, men and women are just not the same. Our biology is different. So, it makes sense that fasting would be different. So, if you've ever tried fasting as a woman, intermittent fasting or more prolonged fasting, and you failed miserably or felt like straight junk, you are not alone. Um, if you are not feeling good with the particular protocol that you're following, you have to ask yourself why you're doing it. So some common reasons for fasting are to induce autophagy, to lose weight in a lot of cases, which I'll get into. I don't think that's a great idea for weight loss, improving glucose tolerance, and mental clarity. And a lot of these things can be achieved, but there are some things that we need to consider. So first of all, there needs to be a period of not eating or caloric restriction in order to lose weight. So when we think about intermittent fasting, it seems to make sense. We sort of cut out some time that we're eating, cuts down on our overall calorie intake, and it should make sense that it should help us lose weight. Everybody fasts when they sleep. So if you sleep for 8 hours which is awesome, and you ate right before bed and you eat an hour later, you fasted for 9 hours. So even if you ate right before bed, you're still getting a short fasting window. Everybody does it. It's not scary. It's a good thing. It's what your body's supposed to do. Now, I want you to think about fasting as a stressor. And I'm going to challenge your idea of stress. So there are hormetic stressors and there are negative stressors. So hormetic stressors are things that should induce a lot of positive anti-inflammatory pathways, can down-regulate stress pathways. It can induce weight loss. It's associated with anti-aging. And some examples of that are like cold plunging, saunas, so like hot cold exposure, exercise, fasting. All of these things are good. So I'm saying these are hormetic stressors. These can induce positive effects for your body. However, women are a lot more sensitive to these stressful indicators. So it can pretty rapidly change our hormonal profile. So in women, our cycles create crazy changes in our hormones all the way throughout the month. At all different times throughout the month, our estrogen progesterone ratios are constantly changing. Now, our cycles are regulated by the HPG axis, the hypopituitary gonadal axis. And it's very closely tied with your adrenal and your thyroid pathways. So I want you to think about the adrenal pathways as being like your fight or flight system, which serves a purpose and can be good, but we don't want that to always be dominant. That's what we call adrenaline dominance, and creates a whole host of issues that I'm not going to get into in this. So we talk about good stressors, and then we're talking about cumulative stress. So that's where I believe that fasting becomes an issue. So I see a lot of women doing caloric restriction, fasting, high intensity interval training. So remember, exercise is a stressor too. If you're combining all of these, it's too much for your body. It's just going to be too much. You need to choose one. You need to focus on the sum total of your stressors, your energy balance, which means food intake and output, your exercise intensity, and also just talking about your sleep. So if all of these are not in balance, then fasting is just going to throw a whole nother wrench into your program, into your life, and changing your hormones. So your body as a woman cares most about your fertility. Whether or not you do, it cares about your fertility and your survival. And it's going to do everything it can to help keep those hormones in balance. I want to reference a couple of different studies that might change your ideas on fasting and whether or not it would be good for you as a woman. So first, most of the studies have been done in males and rats. Nothing new there. That's where we get the majority of our research. However, one journal, Journal of Obesity Research, studied non-obese men and women and over 21 days and found that their glucose tolerance actually was poor compared to men following alternate day fasting. So they ate one day, they didn't eat the other day. That was their form of intermittent fasting. So if you're going into this to improve your glucose tolerance, as a woman, your changes are going to be much different than a man. So, for example, if you're starving after you eat your first meal, when you break a fast, something's wrong there. That's not working for you. You shouldn't be so famished that you binge at your first meal. Another one, looking at postmenopausal women in the Journal of Menopause, when we looked at caloric restriction versus like just overall, we reduced our calories for the day over said period of time, versus fasting, the people who did the intermittent actually lost more lean muscle mass. So they lost lean muscle mass. So they both lost weight, but one lost muscle. So think about the implications of that. If you, in this case, are a postmenopausal woman and you're trying to implement fasting, intermittent fasting, long periods of not eating, then when you go to your cycle class and you go and you try to burn up 1,000 calories in one class, you're not really burning the same amount of calories as somebody else would who had more muscle mass. So muscle mass is an incredibly important component in this metabolic equation. And if fasting is causing you to lose muscle mass, you're not doing your resting metabolic rate any favors. One more here, just looking at fasting for autophagy. So we talk about autophagy as being like the cellular turnover, getting rid of the junk, getting rid of the bad cells. This can be a very good thing. It's associated with anti-aging, has even been associated with decreased depression and mental disorders, a whole host of really positive things. But men and women, again, are unequally yoked in this study. It comes from the Journal of Biological Chemistry, which showed that intermittent fasting for women actually resisted autophagy. So while men reaped a lot of the benefits of that, cellular turnover, cellular death, and cleanup, women actually resisted that. So they were more likely to hold on to those cells, which isn't always a bad thing, but understand that if you're going into intermittent fasting protocol with the intent of autophagy, for you as a woman, it's not going to be the same. In fact, might not give you any of the same benefits of autophagy that a man would reap from this. Biology is so unfair. So bottom line, the research is very limited on women. Like I said, it's mostly rats and males, but you are your own study. Every single person is an N of one. So what are some signs that it's not working for you? Okay, if you have disrupted sleep, if you're constantly stressed, you find your heart rate is increasing, or if you're always cold, if you're finding that your metabolism is actually decreasing, or your thyroid might be suffering because you got blood work, if you're just feeling generally overall very tired, if your exercise performance is decreasing, all of these things are signs that fasting is not working for you. And you shouldn't be so starving at your first meal that you end up binging and just defeating the purpose. So these are all signs that it's probably not right for you. Now, everybody's a little different. So what are some things you can do if you want to keep fasting? I personally enjoy intermittent fasting 3 weeks out of the month. I won't eat until anywhere between 11 and 12, but I'm not hard and fast to that because I want to enjoy metabolic flexibility and I want to be able to eat at 10 a.m. if my energy sucks. So one thing you can do is decrease the fasting window. So maybe you only fast for 10 hours. When you get into that 12 to 16 range, things get a little bit riskier. Now, if you feel good at 12 hours and you have no issues, or if you want to go a little longer, fine. But I might suggest that you do that less frequently. So if you're going to do a 16-hour fast, don't do it every day. It's not a problem to imply these stresses. It's cumulative stress. So you need to look at your overall energy balance, your sleep, this emotional stress in your life, the physical stresses that you're putting into your life, and they need to be well balanced. If one is too much, then you're going to suffer the negative consequences of this. So overall, you need to make up the decision for yourself. Nobody can tell you fasting is good or bad for a woman. Is it good or bad for you? Well, pay attention to your body. Get some blood work done. See how your thyroid's doing. Are you feeling like crap? Then eat. Don't be dogmatic about any one thing. Metabolic flexibility rules. So if you have any questions about this, if you want to know more, if you want to see links to the studies, just post me a comment. I'll let you know. Have a good day.